Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome everyone to our October 7th monthly council meeting. Pastor Mitzner, would you please lead in a prayer for us, please?
Let's bow our heads. Father in heaven, I want to thank you for the town of Keystone Heights, Florida. Lord, what a blessing it is for me and my wife to live here. And God, I pray over the council tonight and those who are here as plans are discussed for this community. God, we ask that you would give your wisdom, that you would lead and guide our thoughts for the betterment of this town. And Father, I also want to pray concerning the impending storm. Lord, we pray for your protection not only over us here, but Lord, throughout the state. And God, I ask that those who desperately need help, that God, you would provide that help for them. Again, over this town, we pray and ask your blessing. I ask these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Mr. Lewandowski, can you lead us in pledge?
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Ms. Silva, would you give us a roll call?
Mayor Nina Rodenroth.
Here.
Vice Mayor Christine Thompson.
Here.
Councilman Tony Brown.
Here.
Councilman Elston Speedy Cussler.
Here.
Councilman Dan Lewandowski.
Here.
All present, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. We have a resolution 2024-6, local state of emergency. Can I get a motion to read by short title?
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Resolution 2024-6, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Keystone Heights, Florida, declaring a local state of emergency, adopting the Governor's Executive Orders 24-214 and 24-215, issued by the Governor of Florida, providing direction to the clerk and providing an effective date.
Thank you.
And Madam Mayor, so this resolution is one that's commonly done during times of natural disaster. We used it during COVID. However, what it does is it authorizes the city manager to waive, or you are waiving certain rules that allow the city manager to take action during this local state of emergency. It is for a period of 7 days. However, in the past, we would have to come back every 7 days if we needed to extend the local state of emergency. We have since changed our practice where it now puts in the hands of the mayor the ability to extend, and then any short of extension comes back for acknowledgement by the council after the fact.
Okay.
And
Thank
then
you.
hopefully everybody's been paying attention to the National Hurricane Center. Last I heard, Hurricane Milton was a Category 5 hurricane. Everyone should do everything they can if they're in an evacuation zone to leave the area, or at most prepare themselves, understanding that there is a strong probability of widespread power outages as well as flooding.
Okay. Thank you. Can I get any comments, you guys? Can I get a vote?
I make a motion, we pass it. Don't we need to make a motion first?
Yes.
Already
Need a
made
motion
motion.
to approve the resolution 2024-06.
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Moving to item 4, consent agenda. We have the special council meeting minutes from August 22nd, the Heritage Commission meeting minutes from August 29th, the special council meeting minutes from September 3rd, the city council meeting minutes from September 9th, CRA meeting minutes from September 16th, the city council special meeting minutes from September 24th, city council emergency meeting minutes from September 24th, an event application, Sawstep Wings and Seafood, and another event application for Nutrition Escape, the pavilion rental request, which includes alcohol, also the event application for Fall Festival, Victory Way Church of God. Have you all been able to review those details in our packets?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda.
I second it.
Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next, we have action items, Public Works side-by-side. Mr. Wright?
Good evening, everybody. Public Works has asked the council for a purchase of a side-by-side utility vehicle. This would be purchased under the Florida Sheriff's Association Cooperative Purchasing Program. So it would be a 4-seater side-by-side that we could use both for our regular operations day-to-day, receiving trash, cutting down limbs, whatever it is, as well as for events. Just basically whatever the city needs. And it's, the extended price on it is $17,500, and it's under, I said, again, a cooperative purchasing program through the Florida Sheriff's Association.
Okay.
Forgive my lack of knowledge. What's a side-by-side?
So essentially, this particular one is like a John Deere Gator you would see on like golf courses and things. It's a like a 4x4 vehicle, like a utility vehicle.
Hey, Bo, can I,
You may.
it's like an ATV on steroids.
So essentially, it's a 4-seater vehicle with a dump bed on it that would be able to use to take care of trash during 4th of July events and things like that, and also, for other events as well.
Is it similar to the ones we borrowed for 4th of July? for the
Yes,
Delta?
well, yes, but it's
more
a
than
step
that.
up, yeah,
So you can put 4 people on it and you can carry stuff?
absolutely, yep,
You still tell a trailer, too?
yep,
you can
absolutely,
tow a
yep.
trailer.
You can put a trailer hitch on the back of it and carry, and I don't know if you guys have been around town when our guys are running around, but sometimes they jump on a zero-turn mower right up towards the high school and start mowing, whereas now they could jump on this and have a trailer behind them and put the, zero-turn mower and a weed eater and the trash can and all the stuff they need instead of just running a
Is
mower
it
behind
street legal?
It can be, but it's not automatically. So if you think of the golf cart rules, where you have to have windshield, headlights, turn signals, horn, I think it's supposed to have a license plate.
Windshield.
And then, yeah, windshield, and it cannot be on a road that has a speed limit over, it's 35 or 45 miles an hour.
So essentially, from our public works to most areas around here, it would suffice
It would
for
be
that.
okay.
Yep.
So it's something that's going to be used daily? It's not
Yeah.
going to sit in the garage?
No, no.
You see them a lot if you go to, like, the fair, you'll see the sheriff's office in them.
They're nice.
We-
They're
we-
way nicer than a
Well,
golf cart.
Safety-wise,
They're a lot cheaper than buying another truck.
Right.
I'm looking at the gas, instead of a V8 truck or something like that. You got a side-by-side, it's gonna,
I know we
About
have one.
50 miles a gallon.
We have one in our yard that we use. And it's used hauling a trailer to move, trash or.
I mean,
things
it's
that
really
you need.
versatile.
It's very
You
versatile.
can use it anywhere, kind of for any reason. We're in a small town and we don't have any 45, 55 mile an hour zones where we're going to be driving it. So
Yeah.
it would really help out the public works guys.
will you have it set up in the way of safety, in the way of your flashing light on top of it?
So there'll be a strobe on top of it.
Strobe on it?
Mhm.
Okay.
What kind of warranty does it come with? I looked at the quote, but I didn't see the warranty on it.
Maybe something I'll have to find out. I'm sure it comes with a warranty, and that's something I can find out.
I was just curious. Okay.
And it's a brand new model. It's 2023, but it's last year's model, but it's new.
Yeah, and I saw that they lowered the price on it
Yeah.
from what it was originally.
Yep. Mhm.
You said you got this on the sheriff's department or
Mhm.
sheriff's association?
It's a Florida Sheriff's Association cooperative, which allows us to piggyback off of the bids that they've taken through the state of Florida.
And that takes care of us going out for bids for this, right, Rich?
Absolutely. So as long as the item, the product that's being purchased has been competitively solicited for bids in the state of Florida, other local governments are allowed to use the bid of another local government sheriff association in order to take advantage of that process, so you don't have to go through the process yourself.
Okay.
So you hear the term piggybacking most
Yeah.
commonly used in that situation.
Yeah, I would rather do that than, like you said, buy a new truck or something.
Yeah.
So, a lot cheaper.
And they're actually giving you a pretty significant discount.
Is this gonna be part of the 300 and some odd thousand we have to obligate by the end of the year?
Yes, sir. Everything I can get a contract and staple to an amount of that ARPA funding, I'm actively doing.
Okay, so,
Like everybody else, the Department of Treasury set up their ARPA website where there's no point of contact, like email Van Lewandowski or call Tony Brown and get direct answers. But I'm just trying to solidify that when I say it's obligated, what the documentation form, you get it, the Air Force, Army, we all have form. I just want to know what I have to have as documentation to show I did it. I know how I'm doing it in my head and I know how we're writing it down, but yes, sir.
good question. Any more comments? Okay. Can I get a motion?
I move that we approve the side-by-side purchase for no more than $18,000.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, and Public Works thanks you too.
Thank you. Next is Budget and Finance Committee. Vice Mayor Thompson?
Yes. I wondered why we have a Budget and Finance Committee. And the reason I'm asking that is because there's 2 council members on the Budget and Finance Committee that discuss the budget and finance for the city. And they don't vote on anything, they just discuss it in a separate meeting that I was in attendance, and I had to write it down. In May, I was just wondering what the history of the Budget and Finance Committee was when it's 2 council people, members, and they sit down with the city manager and the city clerk, and they discuss it, and then they always take it back to council. I wondered why we even have a Budget and Finance Committee.
So Madam Vice Mayor, I might be able to explain some of that. If you look at the county and other counties, oftentimes they'll set up committees, and the purpose of the committee is really to lighten the load for the county commission, for you it would be for the city council. And the idea is that in certain topics that require, or you want to make sure the public has an ample opportunity to come, review, speak about, and discuss, those committees review things in advance, and then, for example, like in Clay County, if
Okay.
it goes through their finance committee, it actually automatically goes to the consent agenda for approval. So there are certain things that need the council's approval, but it's a way to really kind of shorten so you're not having 6-hour meetings. And we have shorter meetings than the county does, but that was kind of the concept behind it.
So it's basically for the public to come and listen to the budget discussion.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
Okay. Well, it was just me and Speedy at the last one.
Understand.
Well,
Well,
I mean,
when we've
do we-
we've had this for several years.
Yes.
And the reason why we started it was because of money being taken away from the municipalities in Clay County by the county. And we looked to see we were going to be in trouble financially. So the mayor at the time, which was Mary Lou, she got some men and women together that had the expertise of business and accounting and stuff
Oh.
to help us figure it out. That's why we have so much money in our bank accounts. It's
Okay.
because of this committee that got started. And then when it got where we had it planned out, going and everything, those people left, moved, whatever, but we felt like we needed to still have a committee, basically to do what
Okay.
Rich just said. We met, managers would come to us and tell us what was going on, explain stuff to us, and if there was anything that we needed to bring to the council for a vote, that's what that committee was for. It's
Okay.
basically, I mean, it's the same thing as what the county does, basically, on their committees.
Okay, well, that
Just a
explains it to
smaller-
me, thank
smaller
you.
thing.
But I also, okay, then the next question is for you, historically, Tony, since you've been here so long. What is the,
Pretty much your call.
why don't we have other members of the public on that committee? Why do we just have 2 council members?
Good question.
Okay, then that's a good
It's a
question.
good question, because after we got through the hump
Uh-huh.
of figuring things out, we had it probably 2 years, 2 or 3 years maybe. And then it was just the council and the mayor. And I was on it for a while, so,
So now it's Dan and Nina, the mayor and Nina. I mean, the mayor, Dan, I've been lugging sandbags all day, I'm sorry.
I personally, I would not get rid of the committee, because it gives, like Rich was saying, there's things that the committee can look at.
Okay,
And when, it's like, for instance, when we're starting a budget, your budget cycle, you have different committees that are in the city, different organizations that we deem necessary to fund for police, you know, and sheriff, all that kind of stuff. So they will come to us and say, okay, we would like to have this amount of money. Well, they come to the finance committee meeting, and then the finance committee brings it to the council. That's how we've done it in the past.
okay, so why don't we
Whether you want-
invite other members, business owners or whatever, and to be on the committee with the 2 council members? And start, I mean, fill all the seats.
You may want to make an application for that, if that's the first year.
Yeah. So you don't have anybody from Bradford or Putnam coming in here and trying to tell us what to do in Clay.
Okay, well, that was just my inquiry. I just wanted to know where it came from.
And they're always made public, so anybody can attend.
Right.
It's just like we're kind of getting into the weeds, and then we let it bubble up, I believe, and then that's what we see that's glaring, and then that's what we bring to council,
Right.
my understanding.
Right.
So, we can always do it better. I mean, I always want the public involved. I mean, if they want to be here to do it.
Right.
So, does that help?
Yes, okay, thank you.
Okay, so next, I have the next item here on expenses. So when I identified this as line number on the budget 513120, I misunderstood the definition of what that line item is. And really, what my goal here was to look at the threshold limit for the city manager as far as anything that goes out on bid, which there is a definition on that in our charter. And
Well,
so,
not anymore.
well, not,
No, it's not in the charter. So there was a charter amendment, but if you look in Muni Code, you don't see it anymore. Like, I'm sorry, you still see it there, but the
Yeah.
charter amendment that was approved by the voters essentially left that threshold to the discretion of council.
okay. So in here it's showing, well, it was what, 10,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And what we're doing is trying to move it to 20,000?
So I think that's kind of what you wanted to see the discussion today. So there are different thresholds that a manager can spend a particular amount of money without having to come to council for approval. And then our policy, and I think you have a copy of, what's the last page of our purchasing policy, also includes an amount of money as to what would require informal bids.
Right.
And then there's also a threshold as to what would require a formal bid.
It's like 2 different buckets.
So, in the charter and previously, the amount of money before, the threshold you would hit before you had to go out to a formal bid was $10,000. Obviously, part of the reason why the Charter Review Committee looked at that was because we are spending money because things cost more at a higher rate than we did in the past. So instead of having to wait to have a charter amendment every time things go up because of inflation, and candidly, inflation's been a little more than it has been over the past 3 to 4 years. the idea from the Charter Review Committee was, why don't we make it so that that threshold can be set by council? So when you look into the statute, the mayor and I and the manager were talking about the CCNA, the Competitive Consultancy Negotiation Act. They set the threshold where things have, the lowest threshold where things have to go out to bid at $20,000. So that's really what is for consideration of the council. Two things. One is, where would you like to set the threshold of how much money the manager can spend without having to essentially bother you? He would still bring it back to you for kind of approval, like a consent agenda item. And then the second is, what threshold do you want to set for things to go out to bid?
So we're basically asking for two different buckets. One is with the things that go out on bid to be made higher to like 20,000 max. And then the second one is for the city manager to have a $10,000 cap on independent spending.
Well, whatever amounts you
That
decide
we
as
identify.
council you want to set. But
Right.
yes, those are the two things. Yeah.
Does it make sense to y'all?
I would imagine they'd be two different amounts. Like, you would set one amount of what essentially your manager can spend without having to come back for formal authority. And then I would imagine a higher amount being, what is the amount that you want to make sure it goes out to bid? And let's take a step back. Another compounding problem to why governments are moving those thresholds up is sometimes you will lose out on qualified businesses bidding on your projects because it's not worth them to bid on a $10,000 project. So if you call them, they'll send you a proposed quote, which is an informal bid. But most governments are setting higher thresholds because otherwise on certain projects, it costs that company money to prepare a proposal to respond to your RFP. So they're not going to spend the time and money preparing a proposal for something that's essentially a smaller project.
Is there a recommended amount?
The statute sets different thresholds for that CCNA. Like I said, the lowest one is $20,000. I would say that is probably an appropriate place to set your bid threshold. As far as what you want to authorize the manager to spend, I think that is a conversation the five of you should have.
Okay. So do we need to vote on these separately?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Before we do that.
Well,
All right, on the number one, under bidding, the quotations. We've got 5,000 scratched out and we got 20,000 scratched out. That's where we're at now, right?
Yes, so that is straight out of the finance and purchasing binder.
Okay.
When I drafted that,
did you see this?
I didn't realize that these items were actually mentioned in the charter. And in a discussion with our attorney, I believe last Thursday afternoon, he said, no, we already fixed that $10,000 limit. But it never got from the voters when they voted on 6 charter amendments, passing 5 in the spring of '23. Those never got filed properly in the Muni Code, so I was unaware that that even took place.
So we got 15,000 and we got 40,000. That's where you want to go?
That's what I proposed, not knowing this statute that the attorney showed me about 5:57 today. We were talking as he was driving down, so I would not suggest that you go over the 20,000 bid threshold. And we can do informal bids between, say you land on $10,000 independent spending for the manager, between 10 and 20, we could take quotes, informal quotes, and then at 20 or higher, we have to go out there for competitive bids. But my whole life, no matter where inflation is and how much an American dollar is worth, if it's what some contractor or some engineer thinks is some little piddling project, they're not even going to vote on it, or they'll throw you a price so high, just to, like, if you're going to make me go through this and hire me to do this little job, it's going to cost you. So any upward escalation of these two is helpful to actually getting not only business transacted efficiently, but getting good people to do the work.
So you're looking at $20,000 for the number one, right?
Sealed bids.
Well, I was talking about one.
Right, for one, I think he's talking about anything above 10,000. That's basically what you're doing between 10 and 20, is like, we want to buy this side by side. Okay,
Yeah,
do you only go look at one of
$18,000.
them? No, let's go get a couple of quotes for a side by side. That's 17,000, 18,000, in other places 19,000. Just go get some quotes for a side by side. That's all we're saying in number one. Number two is when we actually put it out for a bid.
Are you both looking at the same?
I'm not, that's not what I'm saying.
What are you looking
No,
at?
no, I just think you may be looking at different sheets.
You're looking at the same thing I am.
Okay.
We're looking at the same thing.
Yeah.
No, not knowing the statute limits, starting at 20,000, they cascaded upward past that. And not trying to make me an attorney, but knowing which one's the $20,000 limit, the 40, the 65,000. I think this is safest and most efficient for all of us to go with the 20,000. And then you guys can have your own discussion on where you think the independent spending should be. I've not seen it written down. I've been going with 2,500 for these past several months.
Yeah, that's why
But
I
I
wanted to
can't find
increase
it in
it.
the charter, I can't find it in the finance policy. I've had smarter than me people look. So I would like that said out loud and written down so that when I get to that, it's established.
It's not in the charter.
I'm good with the $10,000 limit, although I would like to say that, if you're spending 7,000 here and 8,000 there, I'd kind of like to know about it.
Yep.
I trust your judgment. I would just want to know what's going on. So if somebody in the community asks me, what do you think of the city manager spending $8,000 on Christmas decorations? I can
Yes,
go.
sir. You've heard me say it, everybody that works in this building and public works guys, I'm like, the only thing that we can really end up in the newspaper for is spending the money wrong. Only thing any of us can actually get fired for.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm at will, but we just don't want to spend other people's money like it's our own, and I've never done that. And you don't have that much to spend comparatively.
Right. And I trust
But
your judgment. I'd
You're
just like to
fiscally
know.
sound, so I'm just trying to make us a little more efficient.
Well, and it should come back to you.
More efficient.
Well, no, it should come
That's
back
what it
to
boils
you.
down
No,
to.
what we used to, let's say, there used to be a finance report.
Yeah, monthly finance report.
That would show you essentially every check written. So generally with that, you can see those purchases.
That's right. Now that you mention it, I forgot about
Can
that.
we-
We'll be going
Can we
there.
possibly
Go back
get
to
that?
that. Yeah, go back to that.
Go back to what?
A monthly
we-
financial
see-
report.
Yes, so literally, Ms. Coleman started, I think, August 16th or 21st or something like that. And immediately I had her run a report so I could get y'all a budget draft by September 3rd. What her and I have discussed is bringing you 3 months worth quarterly. So at your November meeting will be kind of a catch-up. The last time I brought you finance reports was either in April or May. And then I just didn't have any consistency in that office all summer. So I'd like to bring them to you quarterly. I'm happy to bring them monthly. Our CPA typically comes in mid-month, so it's now approaching the middle of October and rectifies, I ain't the right one. Reconcile, thank you,
yeah.
up through the end of September. So then September could come to you in November if y'all want to do it monthly.
And a number of governments, they just print the check register and it's in your consent agenda.
Yeah.
So you can see it.
I would personally like to see it monthly.
I
That way
agree.
we keep up
Yeah.
with it.
I
I'm fine
agree.
with that.
Monthly.
Sure.
So I move that we give the city manager the authority to make purchases up to $10,000 without city council approval.
Bringing it back,
I'm sorry?
but bringing those.
Oh, yeah, but bringing the data back after the purchases occur, of course.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
So for sealed bids, what do we want to do?
I'm fine with the 20,000.
I'm good with that, too. Tony, what do you think?
Yep.
All good with that?
I move that we use a $20,000 threshold, and anything that we think is going to cost more than that goes through the sealed bid proposal process.
I second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Excellent. Okay, next is Christmas market. Mr. Lewandowski?
Yay. Drew, do we have a slide?
No, I wasn't given one.
No, okay.
It was, the backup was in your packet, I think, where we talked about, I didn't run it through,
She got this right here.
what we proposed.
Do you want to see that? That was in our packet.
That's what you
Okay.
proposed, and then
Yeah, for some-
underneath it, the only thing different between mine was the time.
Maybe I missed it. Oh, wait a minute. Maybe that's it. There it is. Okay, it
You got
was
it?
in my packet. I missed it. Okay, great. Okay, so we all have this. It's called Christmas Market on December 14th. Thank you, Drew, for all your work on putting this together. Appreciate that.
Thanks for meeting with me, I appreciate it.
Yeah. I have to say, I'm very impressed with Kiwanis. Is anyone from Kiwanis here today? No?
Used to be.
It used to be.
Used to be.
Yeah, they're so supportive of our schools. It's just wonderful, all the things that they do. And they have a wonderful program planned for that evening, December 14th, to occur after the parade. They're going to have a bunch of stuff down at the beach. They're going to have bands performing, singing. They're going to have Santa Claus. They're going to have food and drink sales. Kiwanis is really doing it upright, and I'm so happy to hear all their efforts in doing that. And if Drew hadn't told me, I wouldn't have known, because just running the pavilion, that's all I knew about what was going on. And I would have to say that they're doing kind of what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So I'm very happy somebody's doing it. So all that's left is then really the kiosk, and what do we do before the parade? And Ms. Bell suggested that we do it at an earlier time, and I bring it up because this is the one thing that her and I disagreed on. She wanted to do it like from 10 to 2 or 11 to 3, and I said, the parade's at 6. I don't see people driving over here to do what'll end up being a small Christmas market, then going home and then driving over and come back. I think it would be not optimal for any vendors who are here, not optimal for food vendors, trucks, that kind of thing. So I asked her to put down an event time of 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so she's done that. Thank you very much. And we'll put the vendors here in the theme park behind City Hall or off to the side of City Hall. And what else is there to talk about? At this time, I am contracting to build one kiosk. And I want it to be in a location where it's seen by a lot of people. I don't want to hide it. I want it to be seen and decorated properly and that kind of stuff. But other than that, it'll be like what we did for the Spring Fling, not much different than that at all. The one big question, and I know, Tony, you were kind of wondering about this, was who's going to pay for this? And I said, well, if the city doesn't want to pay for it, and I'll pay for it out of my own pocket, but it should be around $2,500 for this one kiosk. And so that's probably about the only thing we need to discuss, unless someone wants to bring up the time and talk about that.
I do.
Okay?
Being that I have been involved in numerous events in Keystone, and knowing, being involved in the parade at Christmas time, and it gets dark, and how we get people in and get people out, I do not agree with 5 o'clock. I do go with an early afternoon. That way these guys are out of here, because this place, parking is a problem. And when you have 4th of July, any kind of events down here, when you have vendors, they want to get as close as they can to unload and load. And at that time of day, people are already going to be lining up for the parade. And you're going to have kids running around, and you're going to have people moving vehicles all over the place. To me, personally, it's unsafe. That's why I'm for going to 3 o'clock at the latest, because that way it gives everybody out, gives staff an opportunity to come in and clean up. And then you don't have trailers all over the place and people running all over the place, because it is going to be busy, and it's going to be, I look at it as a safety issue if we go to 5 o'clock.
So how late do we let the vendors stay here on July 4th?
They are out of here probably by 3 or 4.
If we close by 3, they can be out of here by 4.
Yeah.
Usually. And it depends on how many vendors we have, because the more vendors we have, the harder it is to get everybody out. You might have to do phases. But if we do 2 o'clock, they'll be out of here probably by 3. So that's up to the councilors' turn. Food trucks, and because of the event with Kiwanis, because they're selling food, I'd like the food trucks to definitely be out of here by 4, because they need to be able to go over there and set up, because they're spending their time with the parade and that. And so I don't want to limit their ability to set up, because we have food trucks over there limiting the parking to be able to set up.
Are they going to be parking the food trucks in the beach parking lot?
Keep in mind, we haven't voted to have it yet, so I've got plans in my head, but I haven't done the fruition. Depending on how many food trucks we want to do, if we want to do 4, we can fit them right here, but we're not closing down Lakeview. So we would just probably get a couple over in the parking lot, still parking there. But since they're selling food too, we want those people to be able to leave. It's easier for them to leave. They just, go out back. It's fine. It's a little harder with vendors because they have the trailers or the trucks.
So you're not looking at closing down Lakeview at all?
We could. It depends on how big it's going to be. We know I'm going to shoot for the stars, but I just don't know.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
obviously.
Lakeview gets closed down anyhow for the parade, so.
Right, and that causes it harder for them to get out too.
Mhm.
But, so,
I just see 5 o'clock being an issue.
Yeah, when we talked about it, we also said, well, they may have to wait. They may not get the chance to move out, depending upon how it's set up and that kind of thing. And if the vendors want to leave at 2 or 3, that's their choice. I say, give the people the choice. But if they're going to stay till 5, then we tell them, well, you can't go out on this street, can't go out on Lawrence, you can't go out on Lakeview. You got to get back here on what is this street back here? Palmetto. You got to go out on Palmetto, and just let them make the choice. They leave at 4, they leave at 4. If they leave at 5:30, they leave at 5:30. But they got to leave out of Palmetto if they do that. I don't know. I think if we want to give them the chance to sell stuff, they got to be here when the most people are. We don't force them out before all the people get here.
Well, I agree with that, but you have to understand, I've been a part of the safety program, and you have to look at safety a lot, and that's our job as a city council, is the safety of the people. And I just feel like I've been here at 4th of July when they load, I've been here when they unload and take off. Nothing against the vendors, but we have a small area for them to be at, and you're gonna have kids running around, and it's gonna be dark by 5 o'clock. So 5:30. I'm just looking at a safety point, and I'm all for having it. I just don't like the 5 o'clock.
Yeah, and I think the other thing we talked about was the lighting challenges that we have out here, even if it gets later in the day, and I hear what you're saying, Dan. And maybe next year what we do is look at increasing our lighting around the area here, because even the vendors, if it's getting dark, I know at the parade time it is dark, so it'll be getting dark around the 5 o'clock time. It's just hard for people to see things when it's starting to get dark like that.
Right, we talked
just
about
don't have
that
the
too, just bring in
set.
lighting. You can rent that stuff and you can put that up, and it's very bright. That's a small cost, but it sounds like the council is mainly against it.
I'm not against it. We're not against it.
Can we compromise like 4 o'clock?
Whatever you guys think.
So 11 to 4?
11 to 4?
Can I just say that they will be closing down the road at 5:15 here? if you'll look at your schedule, it says that Kiwanis is closing the road down at 5:15 and then it'll reopen at 7:30. That doesn't mean they can't go out the back, but it does mean that people are gonna start lining up at that time. So then we only have this side, and the back side for being able to unload. Not impossible, depending on the size of the people. They could use carts and wagons and all that stuff to go to. So it just wanted you to know that the road will be shut down here.
Right, but if we close at 4, that gives them an
I'm
hour,
just giving y'all information so y'all can make a
right,
decision.
but that gives them an hour and 15 minutes before any road closure happens. They can't get out of here in an hour and 15 minutes, they're doing something wrong.
Any other comments? No? So 11 to 4?
All right, how about I make a motion? We'll go from 11 to 4, and hopefully it gets seconded, and if there's any more discussion, we can talk about it at that time.
I second the motion.
Okay,
All in favor?
all right,
Aye.
I thank you very much.
Sure. Looking forward to it. Okay. All right. Item D is policy for Florida League of Cities events. Mr. Brown?
Last month, we had a little issue. I call it an issue, but we need to figure out as a council, in the past, out of our contingency, when a council person goes to the Florida League of City dinners once a month, it comes out of our contingency. We did vote in the last meeting to go up on the price
Yep.
to $35, and so $35 comes out of our contingency. Knowing that if we take a spouse, whatever, a friend, we take somebody with us, we pay for it.
Yeah.
So,
We meaning us. The city
us
doesn't.
as a person, the
Right.
city does not pay for that person.
Right.
So sometimes staff goes in with different cities and stuff. I've seen that over the years. But the thing is our staff does not have a contingency like the manager or we do. So I would like, if our staff wants to go, I mean, as a board member, I'd like to see more people there, and your staff gets to mingle with other, cities and stuff. It gives them an opportunity to network. But where's it coming out of? I mean, do we want them to be able to do that, and are they going to have to pay for themselves, or do we have a fund that can come out once a month if a staff member wants to go? That's why I put it on here. Because we had questions last month, and honestly, this is the first time we've really had staff that wants to go to these things. The only time the staff goes is usually when we do our dinner in April, and then that comes out of our budget to pay for the different committee people, airport boards. I don't know if we did the airport board last year, but we've done it in the past. And we take care of it for that meeting because we sponsor that meeting in April. So basically what I put this on here for is to see, do we want to look at a policy if we need a policy, or we just make a rule that, or find somewhere where the money can come out if a staff member wants to go? I mean, basically how y'all feel about it.
I agree with you. I think if they would like to go, and we're representing our city when we go to those meetings.
Right.
They're a part of our city. I think they should go if they want to.
Well, it's like Drew, I think, you went to Green Cove.
Yes, sir, right before our event.
That helped her out to visualize what we do at these meetings and stuff like that. So.
And you think the price is $35 now?
The dinners are $35.
Are they going to have really good food for $35? Because sometimes.
Lasagna.
This one's Mexican next week.
This one is like one of the, I mean, all of them are nice, okay? But this one's there at St. Augustine Beach, and they do put on a nice spread of food. So, but then again, I'll eat anything. So.
Not Kit Kats.
No, I don't like Kit Kats. So, my thing on this was, do we just want to bring it back next month? Get staff to look at see how the other municipalities in our league do that with their staff, and then maybe we follow suit with that, or we just take the bull by the horn and just say, okay, if staff wants to go, they can go, but if they bring a spouse, they definitely just have the same way we do it.
I think we should just, to me, I think it's a no-brainer. Why
Okay.
drag it out? I think we should, I think everybody that works in City Hall who wants to come to those dinners and to represent the city should come.
But understand, if you don't, you sign up to go and you don't go,
Right, you have to pay
you
the
gotta
city
pay
back.
for it. You gotta pay the city back.
Correct.
I'd kind of want to put a limit on it. I wouldn't want 10 people from City Hall going every month. I mean,
Not everybody wants to go.
Yeah.
well, I know that.
So, I mean, I've been to more than a dozen of them, I think, between being with Heritage Commission and the current role. And I don't think I've ever seen more than one or two people beyond council attend any of them. And even if we looked at it as being, let's say, 6 people from City Hall decide to go, you're talking about less than $300. I like the idea for them to be there because there's a lot of things that you learn. Plus, they get to, collaborate with folks that are at the meetings. And, I just don't see, I can't even imagine being abused because, again, they're going to be going after hours on a Thursday night, driving somewhere that takes them 30, 45 minutes away, right? So, I mean, I think if anything, we want to encourage our staff to attend these things. And if it's more than a couple of people, then maybe we can come to that decision. Yes.
At your discretion, the council's discretion, I'd be happy to find a line in the budget to pay for it. I had some lines in there that went for staff expenses, and I just need to go refresh myself. And, I could just kind of moderate it and send 2 or 3 per meal or per event, and I don't think we would have
I think
more
we'd
than
have a
that.
big-
But we can, you tell me,
It's a
no
big-
more
it's a
than
big
2, no more
commitment.
than 4, and we won't send all 12 of us.
No.
I mean, even all council doesn't go to them. So,
Right.
I mean, I just can't imagine that we would have a problem with too many people showing up.
Right. So I'm happy to do whatever y'all want to do, but that is things that I could easily do for you.
And not to make the water even muddier, but if there is an airport conference, I would like our airport board and our airport manager to feel like they could go attend that Florida Airport Conference. And if there is a state heritage conference, I'd like our committee chair to feel like she could go. I don't know that we have a policy. When I was on council before, we had a budget. Each council member had,
Contingency.
yeah, contingency.
Right.
And so we could, I bought city coins with my money one year. Another one I went to a conference down in Orlando. I don't remember what conference it was. But, so at some point in time, we ought to talk about that. But I think there's advantages to be gained by learning and by networking, by not on a regular basis, but maybe once a year going and doing one of these things, going to training. I mean, there's advantages.
Well, the airport, y'all have meetings or conferences and stuff like that, and they've done that in the past. They go to those and they come.
When was the last time you guys went?
Well, but they have their own budget.
They have their
They have
own
their own
budget.
budget.
They don't have to ask
Oh,
you
that's
for
true.
permission.
Okay.
Yeah, they have their own
All right.
budget.
Well, I was
And-
just curious.
and the
You
Heritage
guys
Commission-
do that like once a year or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
And see, Heritage Commission has their own budget as well.
Okay. So the only ones who don't have one is us 5.
You have
No,
a
we have a
budget,
budget.
sir.
Contingency.
City
We have a
council
budget.
has a contingency
Yeah.
in
Okay,
line
so
in the
I
budget.
saw contingency. That doesn't mean I can go to a conference. I didn't read it that way.
That's what it's for.
That's what it's
I defer to the historian, Councilman Brown,
Okay.
on all those items.
Okay. All right, I learned something new today.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we have that money there. That's
That's
how I go
great.
to, some of these things I go to at the League of
Okay,
Mayors.
contingency fund.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'm done with mine.
okay. All right,
I'm so sorry, was there a motion in there?
We just asked,
I didn't know, I'm sorry, you talked about making a motion and then you didn't, so are we bringing it back to the next meeting to vote on, or is it going to be the city manager, is he just going to report to you guys the 4 or 5 list? I'm not sure what I'm recording here.
Rich, do we need to vote on that?
yeah.
On allowing, okay.
okay.
I- Go ahead.
I'll make a
You-
motion
you
that
do it.
we, as a council, allow staff to be able to go to Florida League of Cities, Northeast Florida League of Cities dinners.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Done.
Motion carries. Okay. Next is Airport Authority application update. Mr. Kirkland?
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council. With respect to the item on the agenda, during our September meeting, one of our board members, Mr. David Dagenet, had some suggestions for revising the airport application for the board seats. And basically what he added was experience working with the FAA. If someone had experience concerning commercial properties and being involved with real estate development, those type things, as well as experience with federal and state grants. So that was 3 items that he had talked about and suggested that the application may include to learn more about what that potential candidate may bring to the table, in addition to all of the other questions that are already there in the application. So that was something we had talked about. We gave that to City Manager, Mr. Van Zant, for him to review and then decide what he wanted to do with that as far as bringing it to the council. My report, the Goodyear blimp operation was very successful. We had a nice article, Dan Hildebrand did a nice article in the local paper about the Goodyear blimp being at the airport over a weekend. They came down early and then on Saturday went over to Gainesville for the Gator game, provided aerial coverage there. We have another blimp that's coming in. It's an unknown company right now. They've coordinated with Airport Manager Craig Kuhn, and they'll be visiting the weekend of November the 22nd. We continue to move forward with our airport master plan, as well as our generator and our west side access road development projects. Our engineer is finishing up all the documentation so that we can go out for bid for all of those different aspects. The master plan, the airport master plan, is actually a much longer process that's already paid for fully by the FAA and FDOT. But the generator project and the gate, the new gate for the west access road, those will need to go out for bid. So we're looking forward to getting those wrapped up, especially the generators. We lost power, and fortunately, with the great help of Clay Electric, they were able to get some folks out there and get power restored. Credit to Craig for having a portable generator there that we could get the internet back up, we could provide information, receive a few phone calls. So we appreciate that, but we really want to get our generator project because that's 4 generators. That's one for our fixed base operation terminal building, a generator for our fuel farm, a generator for our electrical vault that powers all of our taxiway lights and runway lights. So we're looking forward to getting that done and getting those projects completed very soon. The last thing is the Lights Fest Lantern Festival was finally removed from the company's website this past weekend. That's after multiple requests and multiple emails back and forth, Craig emailing them as well as the firm getting involved and saying, hey, look, we didn't sign a contract with you, you haven't done anything. So we had even gotten to the point where we were having our attorney write a cease and desist letter, and we did receive information that they finally removed that event from their website. So, it's not even listed that it's in the Jacksonville area anymore, so I don't know what's going on with it. So, that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Appreciate it. Okay, next is purchase a new copy machine.
Before we move on,
Oh,
there's proposed changes to the application. As a council, you don't have to consider it, but
Oh.
if you don't take action, then the old application still is in play.
any comments about that? Yeah?
Have you looked at it, Charlie?
Yes, sir, I looked at it and I liked it. The airport authority member that proposed it is a pilot and an airframe power plant mechanic. He used to teach at Jacksonville, Florida, what was FCCJ up at Cecil, still Proctor's exams up there, and it just made sense. I had a few airport-specific things. You don't have to have those, but it would just give you more information to act if you did.
Sounds good.
So is there a motion?
I move that we adopt the proposed changes to the airport application.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next, purchase of new copy machine. Mr. Van Zant?
Well, Madam Mayor, City Council already cleared that one up for me. I had two quotes that, from the Office Shop folks in Stark, which manage our Bertha or whatever the staff has nicknamed that machine that breaks down a lot. And one was for like $4,500 to do a refurbished machine, and one was like $8,800 to buy a new one. And so, not really knowing what my spending limit was, I wanted to, you guys, but I don't think you need to act on that at this point, but I do plan to rectify that, and I'll bring you back that information, just like your new policy states.
How old is that copy machine? It seems like it's quite
It's
old.
been around a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, I think we had some conversation about it last year, if I remember correctly. Okay, so we don't really need to do anything with that, correct?
Nope.
Okay. Amendment to purchasing policy? Yes.
So, yeah, y'all basically
We already
acted
did
on
that.
that, so
Okay.
I'll
Just-
amend
I wanna
that
make
and
sure I
give
wasn't
you that
missing something.
page so you see it written down.
Okay. Next is the NACO Operation Greenlight for Veterans.
Okay, thank you. So, one of our staff attended a call on my behalf last week with the Clay County Veteran Services people, each municipality, and we would like to light up the front and both sides of this building with green lights the week of November 4th and November 11th to emphasize and celebrate our veterans. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention more than anything else. I think the quote that was run down to get all the green lighting, I didn't get down the weeds, and it was about $150 for us to do that. I just wanted council to acknowledge that, support it, whatever by consensus, tell me you're good with it and you understand what I've just said.
Thank you for explaining that. In case any citizen asks us, we know what's going on now.
Okay?
So just in kind of backing into that, National Night Out was tomorrow night, which got canceled for our police. Thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate it. So I know it doesn't look like it's going to be rescheduled from what I saw in the email that came through today. And I know that's the blue color that they use. Will those lights also turn blue? Just curious.
I'll have to ask. Ideally, they turn
honor of
red,
them?
green, and blue for the firefighters and Christmas, and we can use them several times, but
Yeah.
we'll make the best decision we can with that.
Okay, I was just curious. All right, thank you. Next, Save Our Lakes, Mr. Scott and Vivian, Miss Vivian.
I'm going to give y'all some reading material first.
Thank you.
All right, pretty. Thank you.
Thank you.
Vivian Cash, James Save Our Lakes Organization. Two things. I'm gonna talk about Lake Geneva and the Black Creek Project, and then Scott's gonna talk about the fishing pier real quick. So these are in your lobby. Okay. Front page says the Solo Black Creek Project celebration at Campamockley, YMCA Campamockley, Friday, October 25th, from 3 to 7 p.m. There will be food from Kiwanis. There will be a ski show, and there will be music, live music. And I would like to see every one of you there. Okay, we invite you. This is a celebration. It's been going on a long time, and this community is going to benefit, so please come.
So
Everybody here,
is
please
that
come.
date changed? I thought it was Saturday the 26th.
I'm sorry?
Is that date changed?
It is the October 25th, Friday.
What time again?
Friday from 3 to 7.
Okay.
Yeah. And so the next thing I want to talk about, and then I've got 5 slides, if I can get those put up. The first one is your first page, which you guys can read that later, but it's basically the purpose of the Geneva Restoration Project, which is basically to bring it back to its natural historic state, okay, and its natural place in the Etanaya chain of lakes. Funding. As of now, we have met with one logging company, and we'll have to meet with more, and that also depends on the rain and how much water is in Geneva, okay? But at our meeting, I guess it's been about 2 or 3 months ago, with a logging representative, they were going to be able to write us a check, us meaning DOT, DEP, whoever, Save Our Lakes, the county, I'm not sure at this point. With the rain and everything, that may be a little iffy, but we think we're going to still be okay. Additional funding is available in Clay County. If you remember, maybe you do or don't, but a few years back, I came to you all and asked you to set aside $10,000 a year, capping at 50. I went to the county and asked them to do the same thing, capping at 200,000. Okay, so you guys may have a few pennies left. The county has money left in their lake account, so that money definitely can be used if needed. Basically, the scope of work, that's the second page. We're talking about opening up the 5th Street boat ramp, and we're talking about opening up the western lobe of Geneva. Now, I want to go on to the second slide. The second slide is the first front page of our January newsletter, which is this, okay? So that basically shows you that trees are already dying in Geneva. And this is what we're trying to prevent. We're trying to get those trees out of there so that Geneva will be safe. If you look at the small square down at the bottom, the small square within the square, okay, that used to be a little grassy area. Now it's full forest. So Geneva has been basically dry for 50 years, and so we have full forest, pine forest in there. The next slide shows...
That box is Nelson's Point for reference to everybody.
I'm directionally challenged, so he's got to help me out there.
Well, I used to
And I'm being honest
drive my
about it.
golf cart around in that forest.
We actually, probably late last year, we actually had 2 members of the land management from Water District ride around with us on the Lake Geneva lake bed, and so they got a good picture of all of this. So that is now the boat ramp, and so I think you can see that you can't launch a boat unless you can fly over the trees. Okay, so that area is what we're also looking at cleaning out.
Can you go back real quick? DEP was what we were waiting for. Have we had any movement on that?
I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Okay.
So the next slide is this one. Yeah, so if you look at the red lines, okay, and this is all of Geneva. If you look at the red lines, that's the trees, the growth of trees from the red lines out. That's the growth of trees in Geneva. You can see it, from the Google map, just how much forest is in there. Okay, so move on to the next one. Okay, the next one is kind of hard to see there, but there you go. The two areas that are circled, the one on the right is the boat ramp. Okay, the one on the left, we would clear to open up the western lobes of Geneva. All right, so that said, DEP, we have been working with the Water District, and the Water District has been extremely cooperative and helpful. They were hoping, they did an amendment to their permit, their Black Creek permit, that allowed them to put water into Geneva, because otherwise it was going to stop at Brooklyn. Their amendment was approved, but they were hoping for some wording to come back in that addressed the forests and removing it. DEP chose not to do that. I don't have any interaction with DEP. I'm working very strongly with the Water District, with our county commission, in approaching DEP. And also, we had a meeting with Betsy Condon, with Senator Jennifer Bradley, with Representative Bobby Payne. I guess it's been about a month, 6 weeks ago. So they are aware of the situation. I've had interaction since then with Bobby Payne, saying he has talked with people in DEP. So my bottom line to you is that DEP, for whatever their reason, is dragging their feet on this. And so we are now at a crunch timeline to get this done, because Black Creek is on target to be finished the end of the year with water flowing January. Now that could change, that could tweak some, a little bit. It could tweak maybe a month, either way. But the bottom line is, if you've been down 21, they've already turned into Treat Road. Okay, so the district is doing their job. Okay, so I had a meeting tomorrow morning, except the hurricane got in the way and it got canceled. But I had a meeting with the district personnel, staff, and I think they were bringing in DEP folks, the virtual meeting with DEP. So the next time I'm talking to you, I will have a better answer as far as what DEP is willing to do or not willing to do. So one of the things in our last meeting with the Water District, they brought up their, Mary Ellen Winkler, their assistant director, is also an attorney. She did some research and found a statute that basically says open waterways. The citizens of Florida should be able to have open waterways if that's what the lake is about, open waterways. Part of the MFL, minimum flow level, that was set for Geneva and Brooklyn, Geneva in particular, said open waterways. So there's a couple of reasons that DEP is going to have to address this. And our concern is it going to be soon enough? We're pushing on all fronts right now to see if we can get this moving faster. The logging company said they could get it done in a couple of weeks. You know, I'm not sure with the water level now, I'm not sure if that's going to be correct, but we'll find out once that comes. So hopefully next month I will have more information for you, hopefully some better information. Any questions?
I know you probably said this before, but when they do cut the trees, are they going down below so the stumps aren't there, or how are they going?
The DEP, basically, their standard thing is, here's the ground, you can cut it to the ground, you cannot pull roots, so you cannot take the roots out.
Right.
So that's where we would be. And, you know, I know that probably some folks that like to fish would probably want us to leave some of the downed vegetation or trees in a few spots so that there'd be nice fishing areas. But, yeah. Any other questions or concerns or comments?
Hey, Vivian, do you have an estimate on the cost of the deforestation?
The cost of what?
No cost of the deforestation's nothing?
No cost.
Zero.
If we'd gotten it done about 2 months ago, we would have somebody would have a nice check. Okay,
It
so
would
that's what we're
make
saying. We're not asking for funding, we're asking for support. If you happen to know the right person at DEP that you could wink and blink at, that would be wonderful, but that's it.
If you just give me pictures and names, don't write it down, don't email it.
I have one of the, just in a real quick aside, I have one of the, I was walking into the Water District meeting, I got a couple of months ago, and I'm just walking in and I hear somebody behind me calling my name. I turned around and it was one of the board members. And so he said, how are you? And I said, well, not so good, not so good. So we talked about Geneva. And he said, well, let me give you a name of so-and-so. He said he's a straight shooter and yada, yada, and get it done. So at this meeting that we had, the Water District meeting a couple of weeks ago, I said, well, I've got a name here that I can call, if y'all, and they said, who is it? And I told them what it was, and they just all started laughing hysterically. It was a secretary. I said, I'm willing to call him. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you.
Scott Slater, solo board member, update on the fishing pier. It's still in final design. There are some construction details that I personally need to finalize to get the project to the drafter for the final design to go to DEP. We have set up, Solo has set up a separate account, and we've moved the funding that has been designated for the fishing pier into that account. Rough numbers, that account is right at $110,000 that has been secured for the fishing pier for Keystone Beach. We do have Keymores that has corresponded and came back to the table and has interest in supporting this project. So we're in the process of filling out some grant paperwork for them to get in their budget, and we're hopeful that they can contribute to that funding, and we will get a budget for the fishing pier so that we have secured funds versus funds that need to be allocated for the project as it moves along, and we will continue to update you in this monthly spot as that progresses. I did reach out to the Friends of Keystone as far as we will want to pencil in hopefully a ribbon cutting ceremony sometime within the 2025 calendar year for that project to be open to the public, and so we will continue to step on the gas to get the necessary funding, drawings, approval process, and hopefully construction started and completed as an addition to your park. So, lake levels, I think you guys had that in your minutes on the back page. Brooklands at 111, currently 0.2, so we've came up almost 0.2 feet since that was printed on the 26th. I moved the stake at Vivian's Beach Sunday before last, and we are gaining about an inch of depth in Brooklyn every 4 days right now, with the Black Creek flowing at 13.8 or 13.1 million gallons. Geneva is at 94.2 feet, so it continues to rise as well. This coming storm, our forecast is anticipating somewhere between 3 and 5 inches of rain for this area of Florida. So I anticipate, when you look at the size of Lowry, which is about 6 times the size of Lake Brooklyn, and all of that water has to run downhill, you will see the creek flow increase, and you'll see the depth of Brooklyn continue to rise. We are about 28 inches of depth away from that water coming towards you here in town, Little Lake Keystone and Lake Brooklyn. So again, the Geneva project, we're about 2 months behind schedule for harvesting timber. I won't go into that a whole bunch other than they can harvest timber up to about 3 feet of water depth. They call it swamp logging, and they basically cut trees and build a road out of those trees and then take them as they retract back out of that. It's twice as expensive as doing it before the water comes. They have never harvested biomass in submerged lands. I currently have a inquiry in with the logging company as to if that's even possible. The boat ramp area, as she showed on that slide, that is all biomass. There's no mature trees in there for timber, so that has to be taken as biomass, and we're not sure if that's even possible anymore because it is starting to become submerged lands with the elevations coming up. So we will continue to step on the gas for that. Any questions of me? Tony?
Yeah. On your fishing pier.
Yes.
When we did Project Play, people that donated to that project,
yep,
they had there's a plaque with all that. Are y'all
Pickets
planning
in
on-
the fence with the family
Right.
name, yeah.
Are y'all planning on doing anything for the pier that way?
If we get to a point where we believe there's a shortage in funding to do that, we would definitely reach out to the general public to offset that funding, but I believe we have enough, I'm gonna say big fish, in the pool to pay for this, where we don't have to solicit money from the community.
Okay. And I just have a question to the manager. Where are we at with cleaning out that creek? Because I rode by there the other day and it is coming. There in Park of the Palms and
Yeah.
through 21.
Park of the Palms all the way up to Little Lake Keystone. We don't have authority to get in any of that. It's all private lands.
But
to
when
the
we,
center of the
when we
creek.
walked it, I thought somebody was working on DOT to get that cleared out there at 100, where that culvert is.
I need to get you an answer on that. I don't remember what we've done with DOT. I'm not saying we didn't do anything. I'm
Because-
hesitant to pull my memory bank out.
Yeah, because we have there's a lot of trees at that one culvert there at 100 where it comes underneath the rails to trails. And then ever so often DOT will come in and clean out there where that bridge over is, where all that sand that comes off 100, it builds up and you got an island right there. So, I mean, something like that. That's
So-
all DOT.
So I'll let the attorney weigh in on this, but my natural sense is to just put our guys in there, have a community work day and clean it out. We weren't able to give the private property owners any good resolution. We can't put our own people, Public Works, and I can't contract with a
Right.
tree surgeon to go on private property. And the only, so I don't know if DOT has similar restrictions.
They do.
So I don't know that that is possible the way you're thinking of, but I'll lean back into that and,
Essentially, you can't use public dollars for private benefit.
Right.
I mean, that's always.
Well, I know that about the creek, but the thing was, I thought that DOT came out.
I think you're talking about just about the culvert. but
Yeah, right there at
that's-
100 where the culvert comes out underneath rails to trails.
DOT would have to authorize that, whether they do it through us through a maintenance agreement or something else,
Okay.
or handle it themselves.
I don't have it with me, but I did get something from one of the land management staff with basically a DEP statement regarding Alligator Creek clean out from where it leaves Brooklyn up to Little Lake Keystone. And basically, it basically says it's not state land, it's owner. Each owner does whatever they want to do. I mean, they still have to go, clear it to the dirt, but not below. But it's up to them to be able to do that. And so, if they, however they want to do it, it's okay. They don't have to get a permit, is what I'm saying.
plus all our chainsaws to Solo.
Should we
Let them
consider,
not ask questions?
should we consider buying land from all these landowners so we can do the work that's needed?
No.
It's not cheap,
I
and
think-
maintenance isn't cheap.
Just floating an idea. Just an idea.
I mean, there's a benefit to the homeowners to maintaining it themselves because it keeps their properties from flooding,
Huh?
which could possibly happen if there's a backup somewhere.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I make one more comment while we're talking about all this? So last Thursday, our fiscal clerk and I had a talk with the Assistant County Manager for funding in their finance department. And we had, and I know Vivian knows this and Ms. Condon knows this, $200,000 earmarked out of their ARPA funds. And they were able to slide that over into their CIP funding, which is good for us because that still gives us access to up to $200,000 for lake-related projects, but without the obligation burden of the end of 2024 and the expenditure timeline of the end of 2026. So we have that available to us in the infrastructure fund now.
Minus what they're going to give for the fishing pier.
Yeah, whatever Vivian leaves in there for the rest of us to use, to help Vivian's vision, which I'm totally on board with whatever that is.
So are you talking about like, we want to improve the Fifth Street boat ramp or something like that?
So I'm talking about the handicap accessible ramp that goes from the top of the beach property down the hill. That is not in any way ADA compliant. And I was not a very good architectural student. I changed majors, but I can tell you that. It's not got a 1 in 12 slope. And we agreed to give Solo $25,000 towards their fishing pier project. And I am quite positive we're getting quotes on that, and it'll go out for bid. That's gonna be a $50,000 project if I'm at all good at guessing, or more. So that is one of the things we can use to improve our lakes.
Okay.
Okay. Next is Friends of Keystone Centennial Update.
And Madam Mayor, after that, we normally have a Heritage Commission update that's not on the agenda, and they'd asked if they could speak as item number 6C.
Yes, I completely left off the committee reports and recommendations portion. I apologize.
So we'll do that next. Okay.
Good evening, City
Hi.
Council. My name is Joe Baker from the Friends of Keystone Heights. Apologize for my attire. I'm 2 weeks out of surgery. Still have staples in my belly, so I'm trying to be comfortable. Just to give you an update of since the last time that we spoke, we thank you very much for the $20,000 donation. Let me just say that right up front. And we have decided to change the venue of the gala. Instead of being at the airport, we're going to do it at the RV park. So our costs have come down considerably. So the $20,000 that you guys have generously gave us will be able to extend throughout the year, along with other fundraising things that we're going to do also, and it will cover all of the events that we're doing for the year. So Ginger came up with the idea of going back to the RV park and talking to them, and they were glad to be able to help.
Great.
Parking shouldn't be an issue. Orange Blossom Restaurant has agreed to work with us on that, and things are falling into place.
Excellent.
So just wanted to let you know. Now the family part of that day is still going to be at the airport, and there will be food trucks, there'll be bounce houses, everything that I was telling you before. But for the gala event, it will be there at the RV park. And we also discussed that it will be dressed to impress, not so much, because we talked about ladies wearing high heels, out there at the airport, and this wasn't such a great idea, And even walking into the event over here, we don't want ladies walking in high heels in the grass. So it's a dress to impress event. Any questions?
Sounds great.
It is, yeah.
All right.
Can't
Thank
wait.
you for your time.
Thank you, Joe.
Madam Mayor, generally under committee reports and recommendations, it's airport authority, heritage, and planning and zoning. If you're looking for where you normally do it.
Yeah, I just didn't see it on the agenda, so that's why I passed over.
It was my fault.
Okay.
Entirely.
Miss Deidre.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. Originally, I was on the agenda in August, I believe, and then we had a storm, go figure, and it was pushed into September, and I wasn't available at that time, so here we are. I wanted to talk first a little bit about the Heritage Commission. I'm Deirdre Murphy, co-chair of the Heritage Commission, and just give a quick update on that, and then I'll go into my discussion on the Keystone Heights marker. So the next item that the Heritage Commission, we have really a full plate for the entire year. and in through 2025, is Boo on the Boulevard. We will have a photo booth there. It'll be over right by the library at Christine Arnold's house. That's the red house that's across the street from the library. We had that last year. It was great. We'll have the Heritage Commission banner there. We have stacks of hay and a backdrop so that people can come and do a photo shoot. So it's just, you know, fun for the kids. Then we will have in November 2nd, where actually the Heritage Commission of Keystone Heights is hosting a 4-county historical roundtable event to share ideas and how we approach everything from a centennial to historic preservation. We also are doing the Heritage Christmas Tour of Homes. We're partnering with the Women's Club of Keystone Heights, and they're selling tickets for us. We will actually have in-house tours of 6 homes that are 100 years old and the original homes of Keystone Heights, so that's going to be a really fun event. There's only going to be 150 tickets sold, so we're thinking that we will sell out very quickly. Tickets did go on sale this month. And we have, of course, our pop-up museum and Chautauqua event, which will be in 2025. And then what I'm here to talk to you about tonight is the City of Keystone Heights historic marker. And as you may know, I'm also the co-chair of the Clay County Preservation Board, and I've been working diligently on the Blue Angels marker for the county. And that kind of made me think about looking around and going, where's the Keystone Heights marker? And when I talk about these historic state markers, I'm talking about the big black metal markers that you see on major roadways that talk about a town or a community or something very historic. We did put one up a couple years back over in the nature park for our heritage, for our inn, the historic inn. And so it's that kind of a sign that we're talking about. These state markers, I realized then we didn't have one, because I started looking around in Keystone thinking, where is our city sign? And we never had one. So I took this to the Heritage Commission, and they, of course, were on board with moving forward with that. Now, the application process for a Florida state historic marker has 3 phases. You assemble the application first, then you get review and approval, and then there's the manufacturing and installation. Each one of these phases, if you will, has a laundry list of things that you have to execute in order to move to the next phase. The process that we're in right now, so far what we have is completed our Keystone Heights story. And I worked with Vichy Gary. She is with the Clay County. Also worked with the Clay County Preservation Board, the Heritage Commission, and after many revisions, we have the text that we are going to put onto the marker. And it's really a challenge, because when you think about it, we have 100 years that we have to condense into, well, basically, let's see, 2,470 characters. And so that really is a challenge. And when I say 2,470 calendars, I'm talking about spaces and punctuation. So we're really condensing an entire century of everything that happened in Keystone and putting it onto one marker. It will be a double-sided marker. The cost for that is $2,920. We're trying to put that into our budget this year. And then we'll have money for the additional marker for Fort 11, which is down the road. Right now, the process and we're talking about a timeline, it's the entire state of markers. So the entire state of Florida, all the markers go through this same process. Okay? So the timeline is about 7 months backlogged. And my idea was to have this marker installed for our centennial in 2025. So I'm trying to fast track this. And I have people at the top level that are willing to work with me because I spent hours on the phone with them saying, it's our centennial, let's get this done. And so we're trying to move this forward. So one of the things that we have to do, in addition to coming up with the verbiage, if you will, is we have to have all of the resources where we came up with all of this information so that we have everything, you know, all the documentation, basically. We have to have GPS standpoints. We have to have it photographed. We have to have signature pages from the owner of the land. And that's where you all come in, because basically the land is going to be installed on city property. And so we would need your approval and your sign off. I've already gotten Betsy Condon's approval because we needed a Clay County Commissioner to approve other pieces of the package, but we will need the application from the owner. Let's see here. Yeah, it's the owner's signature we have to have on here. So our thought, my thought was, it would be really nice, since there are so many pieces to this, if I had someone from the council, and I was hoping, Speedy, that you would help me in walking around and looking at the different sites or locations where we think it might be a good fit for the sign to go. Personally, I'm thinking that down the road, perhaps at the corner of 121, when we've completed that whole corner section. However, I don't want to wait until that's done in order to have the sign installed. I'd rather have the sign installed somewhere for our centennial, and then down the road, we could move it if that's what we chose to do. But there's a lot of pieces to this, and I was really hoping I'd have a liaison from the council. So if you would be interested in helping me with this project, it would be great. I would greatly appreciate it. So the installation would be sometime in 2025. I mean, even if it's November, December, it really wouldn't matter. It just would be really nice to have the whole council there and have it with maybe even at the very end where the Friends of Keystone Heights will be putting on this big fireworks to, you know, kind of have the ending of our 2020 centennial, have it coordinated with them. So I'm just thinking that might be an idea. I am a director for the Keystone Heights Friends of Keystone, and so I might be able to make that happen. Anyway, thank you very much for your time, and I will send this signature letter over to Charlie for signatures. I'm not actually sure who actually needs to sign it, if you all have to sign it, or if you can just sign it.
It would probably have to be the mayor, but honestly, it's got to be on an agenda where they've got to vote on it.
Yeah, I know. I realized I wasn't on an action item, then I got moved.
Yeah.
But
They probably have to vote on the language that's going to be on the sign too, since you're an extension of the city. Just like you approve grant applications, things like that, I think they've got to review that too. So the sooner we can get that to them.
Okay, so maybe if...
For next month.
For next month, I could be on the...
Which is November 18th. We have kind of a...
It's going to need to be next month for sure.
Yeah.
Because that's
So that's what I'm saying. If you got about 25, 30 days, if you can get us the language, and I'll consolidate any suggestions from council and then put that on the agenda, which we should be publishing on the 12th, which is a Tuesday, for the 18th, which is the next Monday.
Okay. And the language, I mean, the verbiage, I mean, everybody's eyes have been on it at this point, from the Heritage Commission here all the way through the Clay County Board and, like I said, Vichy, Gary. So it's had probably 20 people and 30 revisions of.
Oh, no, I'm not suggesting there's anything wrong with it. I just think that they probably.
No, I agree. I agree.
You've already been added to the agenda right now.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, great. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
And I will just reach out to you and we can get together and figure out, we'll walk around. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Deirdre. Next is city clerk report.
Council comments.
Planning and zoning, there's no updates to the agenda.
Wait.
Sorry, I skipped right over it. Just because I wrote something else there. Council comments. Speedy?
I just, about the storm that's coming, that brewed, it's kind of running different than other storms, just keep an eye on it. We, being Floridians, we should always be ready for a storm, but keep it in your mind. Pray for the best.
Maybe it'll knock down some trees around Geneva. It's always a possibility. Anyway, we have a meeting on Wednesday that we probably need to reschedule.
Right.
Because of the storm.
I think we're going to talk about that.
We're going to talk
under
about that
9A.
at the end with the,
Oh.
yeah. So it's on
Okay.
the thing here. Yeah, it's on next.
Oh, okay.
You're right.
Then I don't have anything to say. Never mind.
Mr. Landowski.
Let me verify with our city manager. We have a contract with DOT to do the grass trimming, vegetation management on Highway 21 and 100 within the city limits. Is that not correct?
We have an agreement with them. I need to pull it and ensure it's actually a contract. But quarterly, we do some maintenance for DOT, the street lamps and things like that, and we bill them, and then that's part of the income line in your city budget in the top part where it
Right.
shows income.
And it's not insignificant. If I remember correctly, it's over $100,000 a year.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so my question is this: there have been power outages in the city during storms in the past, and I know because I experienced one of them, because of trees along 21 and along 100 that took out power lines. Since it's our responsibility for those.
Not ours.
That's not our
Trimming
responsibility.
trees is the utility, it's not
Yeah.
us. We're not allowed to, actually.
Okay.
So now Clay Electric.
Okay.
that's-
I'm sorry, our contract goes up to 8 feet.
Up to 8 feet.
It's a clear pedestrian along sidewalks.
Right.
That's our understanding.
Okay. All right.
In
That
fact, the
settles
utility
that.
gets upset if you cut around their power lines, even if it would help.
Okay. Out of curiosity, I've got a line that goes from the power street to my house, and there's trees all around it. Some are on my property, some are not. I can go and trim those, right?
Okay?
Okay.
Because, well, there is a utility easement to that.
That's
They would
biggest.
tell you they want you to have a licensed person trimming around that. For what that's
Are you going to pay for all that damage?
Right, if you hypothetically accidentally cut
Yep.
down a branch that took down a line, they're gonna send you a bill to put
Yeah.
that line.
Yeah, well, okay, I won't go into details, no.
Just telling you
I'm
what
not very
All-
happy
all
about
you
the
gotta-
situation.
All you gotta do, if you got trees across your power lines that are outside your property, call Clay Electric, call the district office. They'll send somebody out there to look at it.
That is true.
Yeah, Clay Electric's really good at doing
Don't
that.
put it on their list.
They'll put it on the list, yes.
I gotta tell you, usually right around storm time, a lot of those get cut back.
Okay. Doug, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Mr. Stanley, Solo, appreciate you guys being here and all that you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Brown.
I had the privilege of one more year of doing powwow at the Keystone Heights High School, which is fun. We judged the hallways, which these students are very talented in the way this year was fairy tale, fairy tales, and they did a good job on doing that, and their skits on the powwow and stuff. I'd like to say something about the green lights, and I agree with the mayor. I would like to see the blue and the red, if we can do that, seeing that, I mean, I've had a family member that we put blue lights up in October for, and I've had a couple friends of mine that were firemen that have died, so we also do that. So I had my notes here. I think I got everything. Yep. That's all I got.
Yes, sir, we can do a little research unless you can just tell me offline if there's a particular week we recognize first responders and maybe if it's a different week between firefighters and policemen.
Well, October is definitely blue.
October is a bunch of things.
Yeah.
Polish American Month.
Sexual or domestic violence awareness month.
Mr. Lewandowski knows it's
that?
Polish American Month.
I
Madam
will.
Mayor, one
What
more
color is
thing.
that, Dan?
Sauerkraut.
Yeah, well,
That's German. That's German. Never mind.
Yeah. No, I also, if everyone doesn't know that bench back there, that's because of the mayor that we have that. And that's from the original Keystone Historic Inn. And she found it and somebody was gonna sell it and she bought it and she's refurbished it and thank you, Mayor. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Bringing that part of our history.
It's where it belongs.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah.
have one more thing.
Sure.
Speedy mentioned the storm and everything. The last storm we had, several of my customers in Steinhatchee and Cedar Key are no longer doing business because of that storm.
Yeah.
So this one's supposed to be even worse.
Yeah.
So,
Glad we're not in Tampa Bay right now.
yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. My only comments are, I attended the Northeast Florida Economic Meeting for Bradford County last Thursday, I think it was. Anyway, it was great because they did a panel of 4, including their county manager and their Chamber of Commerce and a couple other folks. And they just kind of did roundtable on certain subject matter, things that they feel like they're not doing so well, things they could improve on, and some other creative ideas. So I really am glad that I attended, even though it was Bradford, and I mainly felt I had to be there because of our airport, you know. But I think it's just a great idea to expose ourselves to these types of venues so we can grow from our own perspective on things that we could take. And the gal that was there, I can't remember her name, but she talked a lot, and she had a lot of great information.
Oh, Amber Shepherd.
Amber.
And Tricia Evans. One of
Yeah,
those.
she was, Patricia was on the board. So they, she had a lot of creative ideas on things that they want to do there. And I thought it was pretty awesome. I wouldn't mind seeing us do something like that. Also, it was late notice, but McRae Elementary had their fall festival. We got the email late on Friday, but Dave and I went, and I'm telling y'all, it looked like a high school football game. That's how many cars are there. We couldn't even find anywhere to park. I just couldn't get over how many people were there. It was amazing. But I always want to support them in any way we can, and they're very grateful for us doing that. That's all I have. Now, Ms. Silva.
So sorry, I wanted to just update council that there's no updates on planning and zoning. We're working with the lady that we hired or contracting in to do that. And then just a reminder, as long as the weather holds out and it doesn't bust a bubble, I'll be attending the FACC conference next week to earn an additional 32 CEH credits towards my CMC. So hopefully, let's all keep our fingers crossed it's minimal damage across the state and we can keep all of our plans. Every one of us, not just me.
Where's it at, in Orlando?
Orlando, yes ma'am.
I'm seeing 100-mile winds there
Yeah.
right now.
Kissimmee, if you want to be specific, yeah, I think it's going to get wet. I mean, hopefully not, but it's going to get hit hard.
Yeah. Mr. Van Zant.
Okay, so we can take these dates first, and then I've got a few storm updates and other things for you. Tomorrow, we were Wednesday morning, we were going to have a meeting of the employee committee that we just formed. So we can move that. Drew, I don't know if you can see the big calendar. I've got me personally, I'm good.
Well, we already had-
15th,
yeah.
16th, whichever, whatever y'all.
We already
need to
had
do.
one planned for the 16th, that we were probably going to do either probably the strategic planning or something. Could we, or 15th, I'm sorry, you're right, 15th.
Yeah, that one's at night, at 6 PM.
Correct. I mean, we could move in that slot, or we can do it
We could
earlier.
do it on the
I-
15th or the 17th at 11 AM still, if you and the vice mayor want to come twice in a day.
No, I'd have to do something like 1 o'clock that day.
Okay.
1 o'clock that day?
1 o'clock's good with me.
Okay,
On the 15th?
yes.
And you guys are aware I will not
Wait a
be
minute.
here.
1 o'clock on, wait, I thought you said 17th at 1 o'clock.
Either one, 15th or 17th.
17th would have to be for
Can you
me.
give us a list?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whatever you guys need as a committee, I'll provide.
Okay.
I think you meant a list of dates, or?
No.
No.
Her job description items, I'm
Oh,
assuming.
gotcha.
Yeah,
I apologize.
and, yeah, 17th. Come on.
This employee,
What-
this
what-
employee committee, is that strictly
No, I can't do the
in-house?
15th, not at that time. I got
No,
appointment.
that's output
17th,
of all
11
that
o'clock?
discussion
Okay.
about
Wait,
our
17th at-
charter, our contracts, and our
17th at
job
1 o'clock.
descriptions.
Okay.
What day is this?
Thursday,
It's Thursday?
Okay, October 17th at 1.
yes.
Does that work for you, Charlie?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Good. Okay. Sounds good. And we'll just keep the other one as it is, right?
15th?
Yeah. Right.
Y'all are doing really good. So far, none of these interrupt muzzle loading season, which starts on the 19th.
Okay. That was the employee committee, okay. Okay. Mr. Commando? Oh,
Just want to make sure.
sorry.
Did that take care of, Madam Vice Mayor, the meeting you were talking about in your comments?
Yes, it does, thank you.
Okay, so Councilman Lewandowski mentioned the bench. It's beautiful. The first man of Keystone, the first gentleman, I'm sure got a honeydew and good supervision from the mayor on working that project, and it looks great. Those two cabinets have nothing useful in them right behind the pastor and Mr. Stanley. And we have two more out here, and I'm looking at kind of rearranging furniture around here just to facilitate better usage and better, more efficient workspaces. So if I can figure out a spot for at least one of those two brown kind of rounded chairs right here, I would like to put the bench in the lobby so it can be enjoyed by everybody more frequently than once or twice a month in here.
Right.
And you might see those two cabinets disappear. The attorney dropped some stuff off with us on furniture surplus. The airport manager might be interested in some of this. So just a heads up, we won't let it get too far out of the family, but we need some space and we need it all to be used very efficiently.
I'd like to see these coming.
If I can do something with our records room, I'm looking at those two back rooms from the fiscal clerk back up the hall this way, cleaning those out. I've had some discussions with the public works guys about how much I wanted to move, and they groaned a little bit, so that tells me I'm on the right track, clearing it out.
Before you go doing that, as far as I understand, I haven't looked in these in a while, but a lot of this has got the historical stuff.
It is, it's all
that
Heritage
is,
Commission
so-
stuff.
I
Yeah.
know. Yeah.
And we put that in when I was on council because we needed storage space.
Right.
So just a heads up on all that. I was on a conference call at 4 today with the other city managers, county managers, sheriff, school superintendent, et cetera, and emergency operations center staff. So here's what to expect. It's all on Clay County's emergency management website and Facebook page now. But expect school shutdowns, government offices to include this municipality to be closed on Wednesday and Thursday. We'll do assessments on Thursday as soon as the wind dies down and it's safe to do so, and start looking at damage and reopening on Friday, as long as me and Public Works Director deem it safe to do so. And I'm praying hard that it will be and that we won't sustain any damage. 4 shelters are opening in Clay County at 6 a.m. on Wednesday. We're expected to be able to move around fairly safely till 10 or 11, depending on if this thing speeds up or slows down Wednesday morning. So those are Orange Park High School, Lake Asbury Junior High for special needs, Wilkinson, and Keystone Elementary for us down here. Debris pickup. Everybody's got palm fronds and branches and stuff in their yard from Helena. That started in Clay County today. It's going to continue on through Wednesday morning, as long as it's safe to do so. At some point Wednesday, they're going to cank it for a day, day and a half, and then restart again as soon as it's safe to do so. They would not specify, did not get any specificity on when the Keystone Heights area would be picked up in particular, so we might not see that till this next go around. Garbage. We've talked about just normal trash pickup. So that will go on for those of you that are supposed to pull your trash cans on Tuesday night and have it picked up Wednesday morning until it's no longer safe to do so. So they're going to go so far down a street, and it'll probably happen at Councilman Lewandowski's house, and they'll say, as far as we can go. I don't know where all these things are going to stop, but they're going to stop. There's going to be a lot of frustration. Our front office staff and others received just some hateful phone calls and coming in last week. I mean, people are just really frustrated with the garbage. Commissioner Condon has worked her level best to keep on top of all this, so just know that that's happening. So far, there have been no areas of Clay County under an evacuation order, and we're not suspected to sustain more than tropical storm force winds. It's not supposed to be hurricane force winds in any part of Clay County. And that was all I had on that. And I've spoken probably too much tonight. I think I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Commando,
Nothing else?
nothing else?
No.
Okay.
I have a question to Charlie. And I know in the past, we've had somebody or 2 people here during these storms, and I know it hasn't been your practice to do that. So are we still staying in that mode? I mean, why we were here was because we could get out faster and not be, say, caught at home or whatever. But I mean, I don't know what the other managers do or other staff does, but my thing is, when you have something this supposed to be this bad, are we going to have to, if something big happens? Now, we've had trees fall on roads and stuff like that, and I know we can only do so much, but are we capable of going out and helping people, or are we leaving that up to fire rescue and sheriff's department?
Good question, sir. So I had a talk last week before Helena hit with Clay County Fire Rescue Chief Leroy, who was working the EOC, and talked with him again today, and another chief. And I said, I just want to clarify. I said, I do active risk assessment on everything. Is there a need if there's a tree down on a street in Keystone? Is Clay County Fire Rescue expecting me and Public Works to go clear that tree? He said, as long as there's not a tree down on either end of the street, making it impassable to any particular residences with the ambulance. And he also clarified they dispatch an ambulance and an engine, and there are chainsaws on the engine. He's like, he would not advise me putting our Public Works guys out there when the winds are at an unsafe rate. I know I'm an old pilot. I approach things like this from that perspective. I wasn't allowed to crank up a Black Hawk helicopter if the winds were more than 45 miles an hour. And I promise you, we have not given our Public Works guys that level of training. So my agreement with Mr. Hall is he won't put people out in more than 35 mile an hour winds. If the council directs me to bring my sleeping roll and stay here, I will. I own a 4-wheel drive and I'm 1.5 miles away. So I don't think once it's safe to move about, I don't foresee me not being able to get here.
Well, I know that in the past, I mean, and I know things have changed. A lot of things have changed. But when we've had storms, we've had ham operators set up right here, and they were here from before the storm and after the storm. I think they set that up now at the school. I know they haven't been here in a while, but
I can ask that, because that's the thing, unless you can talk to people, if cell towers go down,
Yeah.
we're kind of hosed. Our little walkie-talkies, we can talk around the area, the parks with them, use them for 4th of July and festivals, but we're not transmitting a couple of mile range with the radios we own, which I bought ones that for festivals, and I can certainly look up. I had Camp Blanding send me my old radio set, what I used and what I bought, and I got around 72,000 square acres on the ground there, and you don't want to buy those. They're very, very expensive.
I apologize for the word you guys used. What is that, or how do I spell it? The
What?
Ham radio?
Yes.
HAM,
HAN. Thank you. I've not heard.
just shortwave radio communication.
Okay. Thank you. I apologize.
And one other thing I made a note of, and we talked about this afternoon, but just verify for me. And I understand that we still have the IT people that is New River,
Yes, sir.
okay? But we've got somebody new that's doing the web. Now, the web was done, our website, and I'm not a web person, and I know I think you discussed it back in January, how it was and everything. So we've got a new web company, or?
I've done some work with a company called Moxie, M-O-X-I, and I had a 3-phase approach to designing a new website, and I limited that to $2,500 and gave myself an exit if I wasn't happy with the design to go into the next phase with Moxie again, or another company if they didn't do what I wanted to do. That second phase involved, it's all gibberish to me, but getting an Agenda Plus, which is the same agenda format that several other counties and school districts use, that's much easier to publish and amend. We could amend one item, we could add an item at the last minute without having to strike through and have the clerk rearrange 85 pages of PDF and all that kind of stuff. So that was phase 2. And then phase 3 was forward facing. You knew what that meant, FHP?
FTP was the file transfer protocol to store,
Yeah.
to store the files.
So it was like 3 groupings of things to do with the web, but the website design was really the phase 1. And there was a lot of back and forth that I understood very little of between New River, the website designer, and the Agenda Plus people. They were talking about DNS things and forward facing and
Basically
not
security.
cyber security. Yes, sir. All that. So that is what we walked through the last several months. It took a lot longer than I thought to get to the website you're looking at tonight. And the last thing that they really need to solidify is all our old minutes and all agendas need to get populated into this. So that's kind of where we're going with that.
So is this, I know New Rivers, I mean,
We haven't changed what they did. We're
okay.
doing.
But is this new company, is it from Keystone or is it somewhere else?
They're located out of Clay County. I'm not sure if any of them have a physical office space. These are really smart people that are probably all pretty young and work out of their house and out of their car and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
It looks good. I like the simplicity of it, and we had the community complaining a lot about the website being very unfriendly to navigate. And I appreciate the effort that's gone into it, because I know it's not easy.
Well, thank
But
you.
I think the community really wanted it, and I think we're getting it there to where it needs to
Right.
be.
We
It's on the
can
way.
continue to make revisions. So we had staff go through Friday. Somehow they pulled Councilman Hart out of the history books and put him back on the website. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
We got to
I saw a few little
the current
things I'm
people.
not
We
right.
did the same with the airport. So we're we're striking through, sending them changes, they're making the changes. If you guys see some changes or want something different, the mayor's already given me some specific feedback. I'm open to all of it. I just want to be transparent. My goal is always to get meeting agendas out to the public and our businesses that pay business tax early enough they can spend time during the work week looking over our agendas and aren't slammed Friday afternoon saying, holy smokes, the city just put an agenda for Monday, and have to spend their Saturday and Sunday reviewing our shenanigans.
I'm sorry, Mayor, there's one more thing I'd like to put on the agenda for November, if you're ready, is the golf course.
Yes, sir. I have a 10 o'clock catch-up call tomorrow with a golf course architect, and I've already asked him via email last week to get his recommendation together by November 18th. And my intention isn't to bring you a recommendation from me, it's to have the very highest level expertise bring you a recommendation based on knowing what they're doing, how many rounds per year, how much it would cost, how long we'd have to shut the golf course down to make the changes, what kind of buy-in we get. I mean, it's a complex maneuver. And I apologize to the vice mayor. When we first had this conversation, I envisioned myself going to different golf courses and looking what they're doing. And all that's kind of been consolidated and expedited. And so that's not the way I'm approaching this. But if you'd like to come down at 10 in the morning and listen to the call, you're welcome, or whatever.
What time is it?
10 a.m.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Anything else? No? Okay, we're adjourned. Thanks.